Welcome to the Millionaire Mindcast, where we broadcast weekly interviews with millionaire minds from across the globe to empower you on your journey of unlocking a rich and fulfilling life. It's time to unleash your millionaire within. Now, here's your host, Matty A.
What's going on, guys? Welcome into today's show. I got a great guest for you, my man, Joey Gilbert, the future governor of Nevada. At least that is the campaign that he is running and working extremely hard on. This is someone that I've really grown to admire and have a lot of respect for. First and foremost, I'll always tell you that he is a father first. He is an attorney, a successful business owner, and now playing in the political space and really making some big waves in Nevada. He is somebody that I think would say he is on the conservative ticket, however, falls more in line with, independent. However, we're seeing a lot of leaders like Joey that feel called to step into the political arena, not because they have desires of being a politician, but because they're disgusted with what has been happening in politics over the last couple years. And his journey and story is epic in general. So I know you're going to love and get a lot of lessons from just being someone that really was counted out from day one and has fought and scrapped, literally and figuratively, his entire career to unlock and level up insane successes, wealth, and now impact on a level that I don't even think he initially thought would be a part of his journey when he first started out. And I think when you look back to all the most impactful and amazing leaders, they didn't say that, from day one, they were going to be this person. It was being called up to this time in their life and this spot in their life that they felt they had to do something. It was a part of their DNA. And hearing his story, his perspective, and how he has been able to do that has been extremely inspiring, and somebody that I appreciate his friendship and his mentorship. And I'm excited for you guys to get a little taste of what that looks like from Mr. Joey Gilbert today. So he talks a lot about, being on this warpath for humanity now. And I think you guys are going to get a sense of why and feel his energy and his passion for what he does and how he does it. And I'm excited to see people and leaders stepping into the political arena, really throwing punches and getting after career politicians who aren't there with the right intentions, who aren't there to serve the general masses. And he is somebody that I think, whether you agree with him, his stances, his message, is a perfect example of what type of leaders and people we need to be stepping up in times like this, in crisis and moving forward in general. And I think we're going to start to see a lot more of that in the coming years. So you guys are going to get a little taste of him today, and we'll have all the links, all the resources in the show notes for you guys at millionairemindcast.com. But with that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's dig into today's episode with Mr. Joey Gilbert right off this quick message from today's show sponsor. Well, I'm excited to welcome into the show the people's champ, Joey Gilbert. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on here. It seems like forever, since we met and got to finally get back in front of each other. I mean, albeit it's, digitally, but hey, it's how things are cracking these days.
Hey, we'll take it. Last time we were, I was drinking some wine. I know you keep it nice and clean, and we were getting to connect on one, just hearing your amazing story, bro, and all the cool shit that you've done in your life and the impact that you've made along the way. But now this warpath that you've been on. I heard you say warpath for humanity, and this fight of really transitioning into being the leader that I think many of us feel like we're missing in the political arenas. And we're going to talk about your run for governorship of Nevada. So I'm just really excited to have you on the show today, man.
I'm excited to be here, man. And yeah, it really has been. Like, if you would ever ask me, I think we had kind of talked about this a little bit at dinner, but this was not my bucket list. We've all got things we want to do. This is not one of them. Like helicopter skiing and, in different places of the world is part of it, diving in places and, traveling, being in Bora Bora. But this, like what I'm doing right now, I just kind of ended up here. I feel like the Lord put me here, no matter what people think, if you're spiritual or not, or whatever. I really do feel like in February, March, 2020, there was just something, I had a feeling something was coming. You just feel it. I mean, I saw the whole thing coming from overseas when, Trump stopped travel from China because of COVID. And to me, just something that moment, I was like, dude, there's something coming. Like, it just didn't seem to me like, we have other scares, SARS and other stuff. But for me, I saw something coming. And then my parents caught COVID. And that was like someone tapped me on the shoulder and was like, you're up. And that's how it's been. We are now going into, 2 full years of just battling. It has been a battle and it's nonstop. I mean, it has not ended. The intensity, the, vibration, however you want to look at it. I've just been on deck fighting, as I said, the warrior for humanity and just the people's champ, truly. I mean, I know that's up there. That's my regular website just before that was my website before COVID. And then now I become that. I guess, you vision boards and whatnot, you put it up there, you become it. So that's what's happened, man. And we've done so much good stuff to get our kids back in school, to get them out of masks, to, to get our churches open and provide access to life-saving medications. We've all done it. And a year ago, 2 years ago, I was, just an attorney here in Reno, raising my daughter and enjoying the fun parts of life, getting out on Tahoe on the boat and skiing. And now we just do what we do.
Yes. And I know we're going to be peeling back a lot of layers to those important topics, because I know that, you ain't afraid to get in the ring and fight about something that you're passionate about and that you believe in. But two, to talk about things that people are scared to talk about. And I think that's a big part of why people are so heavily supporting and behind you, is because they know that you're going to fight for them around things that matter. And you're going to do the things that, a lot of people are afraid of getting canceled over. And so I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about this fighter's mentality that you have built up over really the course of your entire career and journey. Yes. So I know you've got, the championship mentality and formula. But
that's what it says there. It says winning in every possible area of your life with your fists up. And that's what we're going to get into of what my entire ethos is, which is very respectful, polite. But you watch plenty of fights. When fighters start a fight, they walk out and they touch gloves. That's not saying anything other than it's on, man. It's on like Donkey Kong. And so that's what I am. I am the eternal fighter for good.
And that's what I think, Tim Grover is one of my, I enjoy a lot of his content and his authorship. And he was the, health, strength, and kind of mindset coach for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, a lot of these athletes. And one of the things that he talks about is like every single one of those people, man, they were so disciplined, they were so dialed in, so respectful, but they were also really dangerous. Like they had a dark side and this edge that they knew when it was time to tap into that, like you better watch out because they'll cut your throat. And that was part of when you're playing the game and whatever arena of life you're playing it in, you know when and how to tap into that. I know that's something that you have proven time and time again in your journey. So for those that aren't familiar of where your journey started, Joey, take us back real quick. Give us a little bit of what has led you to where you're at today.
Well, it's kind of funny because it's not what people would ever think. I'm from, kid was born in Chicago, moved out to Nevada in the 4th grade. And, was a smaller kid. And, I'll just say that throughout high school, I was bullied tremendously. I was not this tough fighter. I was not anything. I was about 5 foot even, 110 pounds dripping wet. Then I put on a little weight and I had a nickname. They called me Doughy, which to this day, if you want to get me turned around quick, that used to drive me nuts. And I mean, stuff happened to me that you look back and now that these schools wouldn't even be open anymore. I mean, stuff where, we called it hazing back then. It would have been, it's over. These schools are done. I'm a multimillionaire sitting in the Cayman Islands, laughing, but it really was like, it's one of those things where you go a couple ways. You either end up on a grassy knoll, shooting people or something, or with purple hair, hating everyone, or you become this jovial, guy who can handle any type of adversity, no matter what is said, no matter what is thrown at you, no matter how you are, thrown into something, you just find a way to survive. And I think that's why I ended up at 19 years old. I walk in, and I played college. I mean, I played high school sports. I did very well my senior year, that was like kind of when I started growing a little bit, but I grew almost 4.5 inches, 5 inches between graduating, high school and, my end of my first year in college. So I went from like 5'6" up to 5'11", and you got in shape. And then after a year of partying like a rock star at the University of Nevada, joining my fraternity, SAE, and just, losing my mind because my father, Lieutenant Colonel in the Marine Corps, went to a Catholic school. When I got out, I moved out at 17. On the clock strike of midnight on my 18th birthday, I was out and I'm never to return. So I sailed out of there, moved into a house up at the university, and the rest is history, man, because I had such a great time. I had too much fun. I actually failed out of school my first semester and first year and had to take summer school at the community college to get back in by the next fall. And it was because of that very passionate, participation in all things extracurricular at school, that I said to myself, I better figure this out, because if I end up doing this again, if I party like this the next 4 years, I'm going to not do so well. So I actually walked on the boxing team at 19 years old. I had never boxed a day in my life. I'd never been in a fight, really. And there's a little bit more of a story to that. I actually was with a guy who was on the boxing team the year prior when something went down, and we got in a little scrap outside of a college bar where, I ended up swiping a guy's legs and, giving him a crack or something. And this guy goes, dude, you need to come on the boxing team. And I said, listen, man, that was an act of God. Like, I will never be, I don't know what happened there. Like, I just tried a movie trick on him. It happened to work. Like, I'm not a fighter. And we left it alone. A whole year went by. And then the boxing team needed more lightweight guys. So he came back to me the next year and he goes, hey, you should walk on the team. You should come on the team. Come check it out. So I walked in there 19 years old. And I always tell people, it's just something I could do. If you ever remember the movie Good Will Hunting, it's just, I could just do it. It's like math. Like I can't really explain it. I could just see things, everything slowed down. I understood the point system. I went on to never lose a fight in college, went on to be a 3-time national champ, 4-time All-American, 4-time regional champ. And, one of the quickest knockouts in college boxing history, where you're wearing a headgear like 12 seconds, just on timing. I understood it. I can't really say anything other than things slowed down. I understood the point system, and I could just make things, do what they do. And so I was very lucky because, I went through college, became a champ, got out of college. One of my mentors talked me into joining the military, said I should become a lawyer and join the military. I'm like, I don't want to be a lawyer and I really don't want to go in the military, but he said, it'd be good for you. You never know later in life. So I did it, but I went to law school. If you remember the movie Jerry Maguire, I went to the law school because of Tom Cruise's movie, Jerry Maguire. I wanted to be a sports agent. And in that movie, he says, I got how I ended up here at law school. And I was like, I want to be a sports agent, so I should go to law school. I go to law school. It's nothing like I hated it. I mean, to say I hated it is an understatement. And I had to defer a year. I went through basic training in the Air Force, graduated top of my class and everything, was dorm chief, reset all the base records. Because to me, like Air Force basic training and, training to be a, 3-time national champ, 4-time All-American, all that. So I had fun with it and loved it. And it was a little older as I was going through, so I excelled. But I got back from Air Force basic training and from tech school, and the Golden Gloves was about to happen in Vegas. And one of my coaches said, well, you wouldn't really do that good in the open amateurs. It's not college. And I was like, wait, what? Like, it was just one of those, like, what'd you say? And so of course I enter the tournament. I fight up a weight class. I'm the only guy that has to fight 3 nights in a row. I stop 2 guys. I beat the next guy in a unanimous decision, win the Golden Gloves, win the regional Golden Gloves, break my nose, can't go on to fight the nationals. But I ended up healing and turning pro, had my first pro fight right before law school. And then I tell my father, hey, Dad, I really like this, boxing, pro. I want to stay in it. And my dad is man of very few words. He says, negative, son, you're not doing that. You went to law, you went to the Air Force to get, to do stuff, to get money for law school. You're going to law school. But if you want to box while you're in law school, you did it when you're in college. So do it. So I did. And, I went to law school in San Diego. And in the summertime, when all my friends went and did externships and internships and clerked for judges, I went to Mexico City and went to one of the toughest gyms in Mexico City called Panchos Rosales. And I learned how to punch to the body. And my Mexican brothers and sisters, man, I'm telling you, they're both, women in there, men in there, they got me up to speed. And so I actually credit those summers when I probably should have been clerking or doing something that would have been so boring and I would have hated it. But I went to Mexico. I learned how to punch to the body. I learned how to take punches to the body. We want to talk about tough. Our Hispanic or Latino fighters, man, that's why they get that name for it. They are so tough. I just learned toughness and, punching to the body more than anything. Came back, and finished law school, kept boxing. And then, because of that, I moved to Las Vegas with a friend, and we're at my house watching a fight one night, watching Sugar Shane Mosley was fighting Winky Wright. And I got a phone call from some friends that night, and they said, "Hey, do you want to come? We got some extra tickets, just general admission, nothing big." But I had all the homies at the house for barbecue, and I'm like, no, man, we're good. But like any young fighter that's on the up and up, you go to the fight afterwards. After parties, we're dressed in, I'm wearing a suit. I look like a casino host. And this is when Sylvester Stallone was coming out with his show, The Contender. So while we're watching it at night, whenever there's a celebrity in the crowd, they put the camera on him and they show him, and Sly waves, and Sugar Ray Leonard waves, and they say, Sylvester Stallone coming out this fall will be the Contender, and blah, blah, blah. And one of my buddies goes, dude, you should go down there and tell Sly you want to be on the Contender. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go tell him I want to be on the Contender. Well, again, your vision, you start creating it. We go down there, and one thing about fighters that people need to know is that if you lose a fight, your after party kind of gets canceled. It's not like what it should be.
Yeah.
So
right.
we had some connects to Shane, and we were going to go to his after party. Well, he loses. So now we're here at Mandalay Bay. We're walking around, and outside a place called Rum Jungle at the time, you probably remember back in the day, there's a restaurant called Lupe, Italian restaurant that's still there. Well, Stallone's in there having dinner, and people are like, and my two buddies, one of them's a timeshare guy, the other guy's an attorney down in Vegas, and they said, hey, Mr. I could talk my way to the White House. Why don't you go tell Sly you want to be on the show? And I had to do this real quick because, you get nervous. I was doing this. I'm jumping up and down. I'm like, all right, man, I'm going to do it. And I go walking towards him. And there's this huge, ginormous security guy. But remember, I'm in a suit. I look like a casino host guy. Well, I start to walk towards him, and I do a little spin move and roll around him. They get by Sly, and I end up taking a knee by Sly, and I tap him on the knee. I said, Mr. Stallone. He looks down. I said, Mr. Stallone, Joey Gilbert. I'm a 3-time national champ, 4-time All-American. I said, I won the Golden Gloves. I was an English lit major, just like you, Sly. I said, I finished law school. I'm in the military. And I'm a pro fighter, 7-0 with 7 knockouts. And of everything I said, he looks down at me and he goes, are you Italian? I said, yes. And he goes, what's with Gilbert? I said, I was adopted by my stepfather, Dr. Gilbert, but my real last name is Tremonti. He goes, no shit. I said, no shit. He stands up at the table. He says, gentlemen, and at this table is Mark Burnett, Jeffrey Katzenberg, Sugar Ray Leonard, George Foreman, Conrad Riggs, Jeff Wald. He says, gentlemen, this is Joey Gilbert. Sly is one of the most amazing, intelligent people you ever meet on planet Earth. He goes, this is Joey Gilbert. He gives back my entire resume, just as I gave it. 3-time national champ, 4-time All-American, won the Golden Gloves, just finished law school, English lit major, just like me. Like this, throws that in there. Says, finished law school, was in the military, 7-0 as a pro with 7 knockouts. And I'll never forget, Sugar Ray Leonard goes, oh, so you can punch. And I said, not like you, Mr. Leonard, but I'm doing all right, like that. And so that was it. And I swear on you on this, I never turned in an application. I never sent in the video. I never filled out anything. On Monday morning, I got a call from Mark Burnett Productions from a 310 number. I'm laying in this little townhouse in Vegas that ended up getting foreclosed on when everything hit, bad in 2008. But I'll never forget, I'm sitting there and I see this 310 number. It's like 7:30 in the morning. I answer it. And they're like, this is, so-and-so from Mark Burnett Studios. We'd like to invite you out to Los Angeles and have you do, whatever. I went out there. Not only did I try out, but they used me in the commercials. So I got my SAG card. I got on the Contender. And I ended up being the fan favorite. Everything went awesome. It gave us insane exposure. So that is really what's helped my entire career. I was able to build a huge law practice up here in Reno, Tahoe, even did some work in Vegas, and my name got very well known. And then from that, here I am just, doing an awesome, thing. I did some cannabis. I think I told you about that. We opened up dispensaries, a fully vertically integrated company up here in Nevada that we sold out of mint cannabis and kind. Got done with that, and I'm just cruising along. It's 2019. Everything's looking great. My president, Donald Trump's about to crush on everybody. I'm super excited, because the country's rocking. Everything seems to be going great. And I had no doubt in my mind. I had just flown out to Trump Doral, and again, you got to remember, let's back up a second. Let's go back to December 2019 first. So everything's fine. We know we're coming up on an election year, right. But then, I see something, President Trump, love him or hate him, Doesn't matter. I thought he did a great job with what he was doing with the country. But no matter what, you can't argue with the man sometimes said stuff that just wasn't necessary, or he tweeted things. And so there were days where he'd do things and I'd be like, oh, like, why? Like, I mean, like, why? Like, I mean, like, why? Like, I mean, you didn't need to say that. Like, I mean, we were good. Yeah. But anyway, and so this is one of those nights where it's late night. I'm watching one of the, financial channels. It's like, President Trump suspends air travel from China. And I'm thinking, dude, like, you're renegotiating the trade deal. Like, we're going, like, what's going on? So that's the only reason why I looked in a little bit, and I looked up this Wuhan virus. Next thing you know, I mean, again, and this is, I always tell everybody, because they say, like, so Joey, how did you get so involved in this Corona stuff, which we'll talk about, but just want you to know, this was the extent of it. I look at China, I look where South Korea is, and I'm thinking, well, anything there is definitely going there next. So this is like rocket science type level, brain stuff, right? So I type into Google at the time, coronavirus treatment, South Korea, and I hit enter. And the very first query that pops up says hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, doxycycline, and zinc sulfate. So I call the old man. Like I said, my father's 3 times deployed combat trauma surgeon with the Marine Corps, attached through the Navy. Gotta be very careful with that or he freaks out. So I call him, I'm like, yo, Pops. And my dad and I are like best friends. I'm like, yo, Pops, we got to get this stuff. And he's like, son, that's a dangerous medication. I've said that. Whatever, I say some other words, but I say, Dad, get out of here. I'm looking right here. I'm on the CDC website. It says safe for women and children for up to 5 years and safe for pregnant women. I'm like, Dad, that's not even on Tylenol. I said, that's not even on. And he goes, I'll call you tomorrow. My dad's very calm. I'll call you tomorrow. And he calls me back the next day and he goes, son, so I looked it up and you're right. That is a safe medication. And you know what? And we completed the sentence for him. I said, you took it when you went to Africa because he got deployed for Africa. Yeah. So that's where insert Joey Gilbert becomes, the whole thing. But just to give you an idea of the boxing career, went from boxing into, like I said, law school, out of law school, start, doing stuff in Vegas, Contender, go superstardom on that. Because you're coming off that, like we did numbers. I mean, I went to England, the UK, and was a bigger star there. I went to Tokyo and, did stuff for Sly. I went and did USO tours. I went to Afghanistan and Iraq 3 times to see our troops. And they had Armed Forces Network where they just kept that thing on repeat. So I got to meet a bunch of the most amazing people. And, Sly became a friend. I used to work out, at a gym with his buddy Gunner and then take a, town car back to his house to change and eat. Just stuff people would never believe. And just the greatest opportunity and experiences of my life. But I will say this, the most fun I had definitely was those USO tours. Going to see our troops and just being there with them and seeing what they were going through and just being able to experience that. That was, out of all the fun stuff I did, that was probably the most fun.
I love that, man. I just love your energy and your passion and how you show up for people and causes that mean something to you. And I think those are amazing qualities in a leader, especially when it's not popular or you're going to have a big.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Right?
Yeah, not popular. Well, you got to remember, Nevada's a blue state, or kind of blue, at least where I'm at, Washoe County and Clark County. And, we have a blue governor, just like your absolute knucklehead Newsom. I mean, I'd like to grab that guy. Anyway, the deal is, when I spoke up first, people were like, Joey, and I said, no, listen, I'm not sitting down on this. Like, my dad got this. I saw him. He was better in an hour. My mom was better in 6 hours. Then the Nevada Osteopathic Medical Association, NOMA, the osteopaths hired me. I repped 300 doctors. And to this day, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of patients without even a hospitalization when we got early treatment ahead of time. So I wasn't being told. No one could tell me nothing. And next thing you know, I see Dr. Simone Gold, America's Frontline Doctors. They're on the Supreme Court steps in their white lab coats. Yep. And they're talking. And I was like, dude, I had tears in my eyes that day because I was like, vindication. Like, here I am trying to tell people. I've got doctors saying, so Joey, where did you get your medical degree? How do you know about this? And I remember saying to people, I think I told you this. I said, I'll tell you where I got it. YouTube. I got it on YouTube. All right. Because I'd be watching all these things. I mean, Maddie, I never forget, I drew a circle and colored it all in of like the cell, the lung cell, and how COVID gets in and how, hydroxychloroquine or even quinine or whatever it is, anything that can help get the zinc into the cell, it shuts down the replication. It basically, kills it, for lack of words. If it can't keep growing, if it can't keep replicating, it dies. So I learned stuff, and I remember like arguing with doctors. I'm like, no, you just don't understand it. And they're like, no, you. And I'm like, no, well, then why don't you explain the pharmacokinetics behind, and they're just, behind hydroxychloroquine or behind ivermectin. And it was just crickets. I'm like, that's right, because you don't know. And so the next thing you know, just whacking them. And then by the time I'm done, they're like, well, you obviously have done your homework. I'm like, and you obviously haven't. So you should probably shut up and stop telling people to stop taking something you don't know anything about. So me and Dr. Gold and the whole America's Frontline Doctors thing was so amazing because I got to interact with the world's leading experts. And now I went from a board member to now just 2 weeks ago, I'm chairman of the board of America's Frontline Doctors, which is pretty cool for a lawyer, ex-fighter that, people thought was partially like brain dead. That's, if you look at the comments on Twitter and stuff, hey, punchy, hey, moron, hey, retard. That's what they say. Like, been hit in the head too many times. I'm like, well, but actually all the science and data out of the top universities now says this is the number one treatment. So, stop picking on me. I know I got hit a lot.
So I think that a lot of people can relate to this, but there's something a little bit different about you in terms of a lot of people feel called to do something, or, they see a shot that they want to take and they're either worried about failure. They're worried about getting knocked out. They're worried about somebody, ranting on them on Twitter and canceling them. What is your mentality around why you keep betting on yourself and pushing through those mental and oftentimes physical roadblocks that every single person on this planet experiences in some capacity?
Well, I'll credit a lot. First of all, you're either born with it or you're not. I got to be honest with you. There's just certain things, just like a chin in boxing. You either got one or you don't. You can't teach it. You can't teach work ethic. You can't teach heart. You can have the most talented guy in the world, but if he doesn't want to put in the work, then that's it. So I think I was blessed. I was, born with certain things, but then that become, you do have to work at it. Champions aren't born, they're made. So the rest of it is you got to take that talent and you got to mix it with just an unparalleled work ethic and drive. And that's just something I have. And I've never been the smartest guy in the room. I've never been the most talented, but I will grind you out. I will grind you up. I will keep going until my last breath. And I just don't give up. And that's the thing here. And again, I credit a lot of it, a couple of people in life, my grandfather, my father, and Tony Robbins, believe it or not. I'm a huge Tony Robbins guy. I went through Master University. I went through his Leadership Academy. I was a peak performance coach. I understand excitement, passion, NLP. I know how to get to people. I know how to deliver messages. But I think, also then I take into Sly, Sly Stallone, Sylvester Stallone. You don't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. And so, it's a lifestyle. It's not just about, you can't tell people to eat healthy and do this and do that and then go be a disaster. Who wants to listen to that? I've never had a coach that was some overweight beast that I'm going to listen to. I'm going to listen to a guy who's in shape, who like I said, like looks the part, talks the part, acts the part. So I'm big on that. And I think that, you need to embody and emulate all the things that you're talking about. So for me on the boxing side, that was just, a lot of it was something I had never done and being kind of like dared into it and then falling in love with it and then just wanting to become the best at it. And that's like, I don't even remember. It was a book about 10,000 hours. I forget what it was called.
Malcolm Gladwell's.
Was it?
Malcolm Gladwell's Mastery.
Yes. And so I think that, like I told you, I walked in the gym at 19. I don't think I missed a day in the gym for the next decade. I don't care if it was a Sunday. I was either running or doing sit-ups or doing something, shadow boxing, jumping rope. I just loved it. And I just, went to that level quickly. But then, now let's fast forward where we're at now. Same thing with law. Never had practiced before and just opened a law firm and people told me I couldn't do it. And it was just like, I don't like being told I can't do things. Number one. Number two, this one, I'll say this though, on what I'm doing now with like running for an office. First of all, like I said earlier, I never had this as one of my bucket lists. I still can't even believe some days I wake up, I'm like, I'm really running for governor and I'm like leading. This is insane. This is really crazy. But when, like you said, people in this time that we're in right now so badly wanted someone. So many people think the way I'm thinking and feel the way I'm feeling, and they just don't have the platform, or they don't feel like they have the right position, or they're afraid to speak out. And so I really do feel like I am the people's champ. And this one was the end for me was there's three things. There's three lines in the sand, for me. Number one was hiding a medication that could have ended this thing by April or May 2020, which they absolutely did. And it'll come out over the next couple of years. It's going to come out, and they should be perp walking some of these doctors and CEOs out of hospitals. I hope they're charged with crimes against humanity. I'll gladly lead that, effort myself. If I don't win governor, don't worry about it. I'm not going anywhere, dude. It's on like Donkey Kong, because these people did stuff that's so atrocious, because I watched with my own eyes. Tens of thousands of people. We were doing almost 3,500, 5,000 people a day at our telemed through America's Frontline Doctors. And none of these people ended up hospitalized or dead. Right. So that was not line number one, was hiding the medication. Line number two was the children, our beautiful children. When they sent these kids home, when we learned that they were the least likely, the demographic least likely to suffer any adverse events from this, and actually are now more likely to receive 1,000 times more harm from this unproven Fauci ouchie, as I call it, so we don't get banned on anything. But the bottom line is the Fauci ouchie, untested, unproven, unnecessary, ineffective, but yet they want to stick it in every kid's arm. So when they did the sticking the kids home from school, the distance learning, then they canceled their sports. And I'm watching these beautiful babies, and I've got an 11-year-old, and my daughter's my world. Like, she's priority number one. She is my greatest accomplishment. She will be, and she's rad. Like, she's my favorite person. I'm not going to hide that. And so when I saw that, she's homeschooled, but when her friends are coming over here, and I got 10 of these little suckers on the trampoline eating out of house and home, I'm sending staff to Costco twice a week. I'm going like, they get sick. Like, what's up with you guys? Like, you're home here to get sick. Like, because then once they're sick, then you get rid of them, right? But I didn't even see a running nose. And I didn't see one of these things. And the mama bears, the moms are the ones that caught on first, because they take care of the kids. So they're going like, wait a second here. What's going on here? And then I start getting calls from moms like, when are you getting our kids back in school? I'm like, me? Like, I know I'm doing some stuff here, like at the medicine, but okay. So I start looking into that. Then we form the People's Champ Pack, which that's my regular website, but we just take it and we make a pack and we start trying to fix the schools, because one thing everybody learned about the distance learning opened everyone's eyes to CRT and, transgender indoctrination and just restorative discipline and credit recovery, just absurd things that anywhere in life as a business owner, I don't know if you know what credit recovery is, but credit recovery is you don't have to do any work. You don't have to pass any tests. You don't have to turn any assignments, and you don't have to even go to class. At the end of the semester, you get about 5 hours of extra credit, and you do it, and then you get a C and you get passed. So this is just disaster stuff, right? Yep. And then on top of that, at the end of the semester, so these kids got sent home, March, April, May, June. So I'm helping my niece ends up over here. She's going to public school at the time. She has the packet she's supposed to finish, and I couldn't even do it. Okay, in math. It's kind of embarrassing, but she was, going into freshman year. I'm not a math guy. I can write you the most beautiful paper. I can do an awesome report, dude. I can bust out whatever you need for court, but math just isn't my deal. So I had to hire tutors for her, but I'm thinking to myself, if I'm having to do this for her, and I've got the resources, what are these other poor kids going through? Yep. What about all these other kids? And when I say they got crushed, Maddie, they got crushed 90% plus fatal. Nevada, much like California, which they don't tell you about, this doesn't make the news, had the highest per capita suicides in the nation, unemployment in the nation, small business disaster in the nation. And you kept seeing it. California and Nevada were the number one of all the bad areas you want to be in. Suicide, homicide, unemployment, inflation, sexual abuse, you name it. Because the one thing about these kids that people don't know, especially in these public schools and kids that are in bad spots, who are the people that see these kids? Teachers and coach. So when you don't have teacher and coach seeing you and you're in a bad environment, you're in trouble. So what happened to these kids? Like I said, it was a personal thing. I'll get emotional because I got calls from parents where these kids took their lives. And I still remember some of these calls. I come in and parents ended up at my office. I'd pull up to my office. There's 10 parents standing out outside. It became a deal. It became a thing here in Reno. And so for me, again, you took away the medication, then you sent the kids home from school. And then the third one, I would say the masking of them, the testing of them, the forcing to vaccinate them, that's all still my kid component. The third one that was the big one for me was the churches. So they closed the churches, and I'm here in Nevada, and I watched the casinos open. I watched the dispensaries open. I watched all the big box stores open. I watched the liquor stores open. And then the final one, they opened the strip clubs. They opened the strip clubs, but the casinos were closed. I mean, the churches were closed. And I said, okay, all right, guys. All right, look, I'm not that sharp, but there's something going on here. So I filed a lawsuit in Las Vegas in federal court. We lost. We appealed it to the Ninth Circuit, had 3 Trump judges. We got all Nevada churches open 10 days before Christmas in 2020. That's when the phone started ringing. They're like, yo, you got to run for governor. I'm like, I'm not running for governor. I said, you're out of your mind, dude. I want nothing to do with this. I said, I've just spent a year with these insane people. And let me tell you something. These people, these corrupt career politicians are the reason why we are where we are at today in the nation with Biden. Go look at Brandon. Okay, so we got Brandon. Then we've got Newsom. We've got Sisolak. The career politicians have destroyed this country. They keep getting voted in. We won't even get into the election stuff, but they keep getting voted in because they have a little game that they're playing where you can't hold them accountable. Otherwise, people are smart. Newsom would have been pitched. I knew more Democrats this last time that were so excited to recall this guy. And you're going to try and tell me he got more votes than when he ran? Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So again, medication, kids, and then the churches. And so we have fought these guys. I filed lawsuits against the mask mandate. I filed lawsuits against the vaccine mandate of our university kids. Again, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. So people that try to say this, excuse me, I was in the military. I had got every vaccine known to man. You didn't even get to say no. They just sat you down and said, shut up. All of a sudden, you're like getting 8 shots. Okay, if you get sick, you get sick. You're done. So that wasn't that. I got it. I had COVID. I can read. John Hopkins says I have 27 times the immunity, the strength and immunity than getting this thing. So why would I get it? So I'm not anything. I'm a freedom of choice. You want it? God bless you. Go get it. But if you don't want it, no one should force you. And same thing with the masks. The masks are off, and you're still seeing people out there wearing them. I just want to give these people a hug. Like, come here, you little knucklehead. I want to give them a little noogie. Like, you cute little thing. You go wear your mask. You go back over there.
If they want to, cool.
If they want to, God bless them.
Force that on everyone else is absolutely insanity. And I know that
this is something that you've been fighting on a lot of different fronts, and you're getting a ton of traction, and you're leading, and you are getting, this really like this kind of persona of being, like you said, the people's champ that people want to get behind. And I'm really curious to know, like, if you are someone that, did you see yourself like wanting to just fight this fight and, kind of doing what you can, or now has it turned into something so much bigger than yourself? And what is kind of your plan and approach for being a politician? Like, how do you flip that identity switch, or do you not consider yourself a politician and you're just kind of, playing in this arena in a game that you have to play in to win the game that you're trying to win?
I mean, that's an interesting one to unpack. I would say this, man, I'm a father first. Yeah. First and foremost, I love being a dad. I mean, more than anything. And I'm attacking this like a dad would attack it. Like, you mess with our kids. Yeah. Right. And I'm also pretty good at business. And what I've seen after sitting down with some of these people, like I started saying, like these politicians, I've sat down and looked at some budgets. I've looked at some stuff, and it was just horrifying. These people have literally $1 billion budgets, $5 billion budgets. I mean, Maddie, they shouldn't run a lemonade stand. They can't answer a simple question. They don't even know what they're talking about. It's absolutely disgusting. All right. And so I'd say it's become bigger than that now, because now I know we can't trust these people. I know they're not in there for the right reasons. I know they're in there because it benefits them. It benefits their family. They're also, almost all of them are corrupt and stealing from the system in one way or another. It's all about them. It's about what's best for them. It's not about what's best for the people. It's definitely not what's best for the kids. Nevada has the worst school system in the nation. It's been that way for a decade straight. We fund at the same rate as Florida. Florida's number 3 in the nation. There's 7 other states that fund at the same rate as us that are doing far better in the 2025. We are 50th. And a lady that I was in Incline Village, place you're familiar with. I'm up at Tahoe giving a speech. And I said, we're 50th in the nation. And some mom goes, Mr. Gilbert, I don't want to correct you, but we're 51st. I'm thinking real quick. Like I said, math's not my biggest subject. I'm like 51st. How are we 51st? She goes, Puerto Rico is better than us. And I was like, oh my God. And you hear stories about Puerto Rico. So when she said that to me, it was like, okay, so this has now evolved to be bigger than, I honestly, Matt, I would have been in and out like a robbery. No pun intended. I would have fixed things because I like being that, doer. I don't need any recognition. I don't need nothing, man. I was just going to, get these things open. But as I looked at stuff, I said, wow, this is some broken SHIT. Like this stuff is really corrupt to the core, broken to the core. And the reason why I went from, I was going to do just this people's champ where I was going to try and fix the schools to I'm unpeeling these layers and I'm going like, oh my God, like I'm not going to be able to do this from here. And so I remember saying like, who makes this decision? Who gets to do this? And they're like, the governor. I'm like, who does this? The governor. I'm like, I got to run for governor. You know what? That's it. I got to run for governor. People are like, don't you think you should run for? I'm like, no, because I don't get to. If I'm an assemblyman, I don't get to do that. State senator, I don't get to do that. Who gets to say you're fired on this right here? Who gets to replace this person? Who gets to use the bully pulpit to go out and campaign and remove school board members, recall them, replace them? And they're like, well, the governor. I'm like, then that's it. I'm running for governor. It really kind of came like that. And so it's now about, doing what's right for the people. And again, like I said, I represent all Nevadans, man. And again, people know that. Like I said, you want to believe in that, fine. But we're just not going to impose it on other people. We had our knucklehead graduate students at the University of Nevada, Reno last week. We're marching around. Okay, it's made national news. I was embarrassed. As an alumni of the year.
I was laughing at when I saw this shit.
Dude, I wanted to go up there with a megaphone, but then some of my people said, like, I got good people. And they're like, you can't do that. But I was going to go, I wanted to counter protest them because I thought it'd be funny. But I'm sitting there going like, these are graduate students. I said, they need to first of all, take that K95 off because you need a little oxygen to your brain. Walk your happy little butt to the library, pick up a copy of the Constitution and George Orwell's 1984. Read both of those and then get back to me. Because you trying to, when have you ever seen college kids protesting for less liberty? Like, it was just like, to me, I was like, I just couldn't believe it. So that should tell you where we're at.
That's what we're dealing with. If for those that don't know what we're talking about, it was a video of, and I don't like stereotyping people, but stereotypes often are stereotypes for a particular reason. Because oftentimes they are true. And it was just, it was a group of people that were wearing, they were multiple different, colored hairs and their leather boots. And, they were, ultimately just running around campus, reinstate the mask mandate. And it was just like, I was laughing. I was like, they got to be kidding. But, I think there's so many people that are in positions of, like you, right? You're a leader, you're a smart business owner, you're a smart investor, you've got quality core values, you're aligned with our Constitution. And many people feel like the system is so corrupt and so broken that it's not even worth the energy and effort to try and fix it because they don't feel like they can fix it. And then there's leaders like you who go, we have to fix it. And
we have to.
When we can't fix it, what do you say to the other people that really should be and are capable of stepping up to make a difference? Because you're a perfect example of what a grassroots leader, now a large, platform behind you, what that can look like and how that can be possible for other people and the difference that can make.
It's very simple, man. Everybody can make a difference. Get in the fight. Stop running your mouth. Stop. You're probably one of those people that's been bitching and complaining about everything this past 2 years. Get in the fight. Every single person can make a difference. What I watched the women do, first of all, I got to give a shout out to the women because the mama bears, like the guys were just, like you said, just stuck in the mud, not really sure what to do. The women took charge. That's who I was escorted into county commissions and school boards with and health boards with. We went to the gaming control board. These mama bears, and I'll say this, they came in every shape and color. They had purple hair. They had blue hair. They had nose rings. They had tattoos. They didn't give a what. They just were like, you have crossed the line with my child. You're trying to say I have to put him in a mask. I have to do this. They were done. And I'll tell you, man, one of the funniest things I'll still remember is we're walking into a county commission meeting and there's this ginormous guy. He's like 6'6". He's got one of those big beards. And he's got one of those like blue masks on that. I mean, it does nothing. It's out literally like 3 inches off his face. It's on this thing and he's wearing it. And the wife is ahead of him and she's charging and we're about to walk in and she turns around to him. She goes, "Hey, get that ridiculous mask off your face. You look like a huge pussy," like this. And I just start cracking up because this guy is towering. And so he promptly pulls it off. And then you see the other guys, the other dads in the group take their masks off because the women have just had it. They've just given the order and we're storming the building, right? And again, this is where people got to understand, like, this was my first protest, my first rallies, my first anything. So people will bring up, I was in the Capitol on January 6th. I was a part of the Stop the Steal. I was at a medical, freedom rally, a medical tyranny rally, talking about masks, telling people, watch out. They're going to do vaccine mandates, and then what happened. And so I'm very proud. And I think it's now people that have seen what's gone on and the moms that went to the school board meetings and were kicked out because they didn't have a mask on or whatever they did, as you've seen across the country, Loudoun County and stuff like that. I think now people are like, you know what? God bless Joey Gilbert for being out there in DC on January 6th, sticking up for our freedoms. This was going to be their biggest hit piece against me. They were going to use it to take me down. I wasn't an insurrectionist. I didn't go near the Capitol. But you're damn right I was there making my voice heard about we're done with the masks. We're done with the home, the distance learning. We're going to let our kids back at school. So I would say this. General Flynn says this: local involvement, national impact. Every single person that's watching this podcast, you absolutely can make a difference. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. Get down to your school board, get down to your county commission, get down to your city council, get down to your health board. Read these people the Riot Act. They work for us. They're accountable to us. They serve at our pleasure. They do not call the shots. Parents make the medical decisions for their children. Parents make the decisions on what our children learn, not some bunch of government, pardon my French, idiots that have been in far too long and don't give a damn about our kids. They care about themselves and their power. So you get involved at the local level, start fighting, call like-minded parents, and you'll be surprised. There's tons of them everywhere. Pick up the phone with someone that feels like you and say, let's go, and get down to that school board and you'll make it change. You'll make it fast so quick. Look what they just did in San Francisco. Yep. They threw 3 of them out and they never saw that coming. And a red wave. And I'm saying this isn't about Republican and Democrat. I want to say this very clearly because I have more independents, more nonpartisans, more Democrats supporting me than any other candidate. This is why I'm going to steamroll everybody. It's going to be just a pounding like they've never seen because this is 110. This is not about Republican, Democrat. This is about America. This is an American thing. This is about freedom of choice. This is about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. It's about God, family, country, the Constitution, all right, the Bill of Rights, the 10 Commandments, and the Golden Rule. That's what we're doing now. We're taking back our country.
Whew. I'm ready to run through a wall right now. We got
baby.
So many people that are going to want to follow you, that are going to want to know more about, what you're doing, how they can support your campaign. What's the best way for them to do that?
Dude, number one thing is just go on Gilbert for Governor. It's very simple. Gilbert, Gilbert. Stand up there, Gilbert for Governor. I should have mine. I'm always terrible about this. I don't ask. Everyone tells me you don't ask for money. I'm like, man, I'm really bad at trying to be a politician. Go on Gilbert for Governor. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. But please check out my message. And again, if you want help to get involved in your local community, send us an email. We've got the Citizen Corps through America's Frontline Doctors. And I'd encourage people look, don't take my word for it. I'm telling you there's medication to get through, COVID. I'm telling you that this Fauci ouchie's bad. Don't believe me. Go on America's Frontline Doctors. Go on the Healthy American. Go on, Critical Care Alliance. Go listen to these other very, very smart doctors. Get informed, but then get out there and start punching back, fighting back, because our way of life is under attack and we've had enough. So GilbertForGovernor.com. And I would definitely appreciate your vote. I'd appreciate contributions. Like right now, it really is me against the world because all the big corporations, they want to only work with people that they can control. So Joe Lombardo, the sheriff from Las Vegas, who's not even a rhino, I call him a big government Republican because they believe the government can solve everything. If there's one thing we just learned, ladies and gentlemen that are watching this, the government can't do squat. They're terrible at the mail. They're terrible at healthcare. They're terrible at fixing the coronavirus, any of that stuff. We want the government out of our lives, out of our businesses, out of our churches, out of our schools, and definitely out of our doctors' hands. Stop tying our doctors' hands. So I would say go on Gilbert for Governor and get in the fight.
Well, the silent majority is no longer being so silent. And we're seeing when people have leaders like you and moms and dads and individuals who didn't think that they had a platform or influence now really understanding how much power we hold. It's amazing to see what you've done. And I'm just grateful, man, for people like you that are stepping up. I want to ask one or two more questions before we wrap up today.
Sure.
What is some of your career political bucket list items? You talked about your bucket list items as, you know, in your personal life and what you want to accomplish before you kick the bucket. What about in the political arena?
Well, my number one priority is fixing our schools. Like, I got my message, my marching orders from the moms. The mama bears they're the backbone of this country, just like the truckers are for business. And these moms, I get them. They were so courageous and they were so fierce for their children. And they want these schools fixed. They want their kids learning, reading, writing, arithmetic, English, government, the Constitution. And I'm going to fix these schools. The one thing I will do is work so hard. I want to make vouchers available to all. I want to be the first state in the union that does full vouchers. You want to take your $10,000 to $11,000 education voucher, have your own little learning lab at home, your own homeschool. And I encourage those moms to get with other moms that are like-minded, because homeschoolers dominated through this pandemic. They did so well. My daughter's a year ahead. So are these other kids. They did so well. And for the parents say, Joey, we can't do that. Well, we're going to make sure you can. We're going to make sure that you have the financial wherewithal to do it, because if you get with other parents like that, you can pull 4, 5, 6 kids together. You can definitely do that. Another thing is these learning labs, like I talked about. I can't say schools or I get in trouble, but just like the Boys and Girls Club, Maddie, how about this? I found out after doing my research that the Washoe County School District has a $1 billion budget. The Clark County School District has a $5 billion budget. We can save 30 to 40% conservatively just by privatizing lots of stuff. Do you know what we could do with 1.5 billion or 350 million? That's every kid in this county with a brand new computer. We could have 24-hour learning labs where these kids could come get fed, do workouts, have 24-hour, tutoring and teachers around them, which would come in. Some would volunteer, others would be paid. We would staff it 24/7. All right. So I want to revolutionize and reimagine and renovate the way the schools work, and just fix schools are number one. Number two is election integrity. We've got to get back our elections. We fix our elections. We fix everything. That's simple stuff. Voter ID, get rid of these mail-in ballots that are everywhere. Bipartisan, unbiased, tabulation of the votes. And then figuring out the economy is going to be simple. You can't have terrible schools and think you're going to do better in the economy, but we got to do stuff. No taxes, no tax increases, sunset the taxes we were supposed to. So my political goals are very simple. They're goals from the people, the working men and women in Nevada. And that is improve the schools, fix the elections, bring help to the economy. And by that, you just get rid of all the mandates. Stop tying, people's hands, get rid of all these regulations and rules, and government has no business in these areas. So we're going to get them out. And then the fourth one is crime. We need to untie our officers' hands. We need tough cops. We need to unpoliticize the DAs, the city councils. You can't look what they're doing in San Francisco, right? They're robbing these stores blind. That's not going to happen. Under a Gilbert administration, you break the law, you break people's stuff, you steal, you're going to sit your butt in jail. So we're going to do stuff like that. No sanctuary cities. And again, I want legal immigration. Our immigrants are such an important part of our country, but we've got to shut that border. And again, this is the Latino demographic coming to me saying, listen, cabron, we got to get this, you got to shut this border. I'm going, I'm a governor, dude. I don't have control over that. But maybe we lean on Newsom. Maybe we lean on Abbott, because we got to close this border. So my goals are very simple. Fix our schools, fix our economy, protect our beautiful resources, our water, our air, our crime, make sure we have safe communities and safe businesses. And then again, like I said, make sure people can carry their firearms if they want to. I want to protect our Second Amendment, but I want to make Nevada a constitutional carry state. I don't care what anybody says. Criminals don't obey the law. They're not the guys. They're the guys with guns anyway. So I want, what do they say? What's the number one way to stop a mass shooting? Good guy with a gun. So those are my political goals. They're all outlined on my website, Gilbert for Governor. Those 10 things. One last thing I'll say, I want to make Nevada the fight capital of the world again. We lost too many big fights to Jerry Jones, to Florida, to Abu Dhabi because of our idiot governor shutting down our state like that. We didn't need to do it. And being a fighter, I want to revolutionize the commission process, make it super efficient, super affordable, and not lose a single fight to any other state.
I love it, man. Well, for those that want to know more about Joey, everything that he just said, more details, we'll link up all of his websites and resources in the show notes at millionairemindcast.com. Joey, brother, I appreciate you,
Thanks,
man. I appreciate how you show up, how you lead. And I have no doubt that you're not only going to be the governor, but I'm excited to see what happens after that is solidified for you and the impact that you're going to have, man. And just grateful to know you. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Manny, thank you so much for having me on here, man. I appreciate it. And man, I can't wait to get together again with you again soon. So.